So, hi everyone, good evening. Welcome to a webinar on AI and Industry 4.0. These are some drivers which helps in growth and building efficiency in this new era, which is the digital era. Yeah, Kavya, can you go on to the next slide? So the contents that we'll cover in this 1.5 hours is basically AI and its relevance. What actually happens today and why is AI relevant. Then we will cover something about Industry 4.0 and why it is a must now. Then how is Nextech, which is part of KASSIA, the innovation initiative of KASSIA, which is called as Nextech. How is this going to enable, MSMEs and startup and other small companies to embrace or implement AI or adopt AI in Industry 4.0 in its businesses. Then finally, we'll have a Q&A session, if there are any questions and stuff like that. Okay. So yeah, Kavya. So my name is Arun Prasad. Basically, I have more than 35 years of industrial experience, out of which 25 years have been kind of a tech entrepreneur. I'm basically a mechanical engineer. So I'm also a Six Sigma black belt with more than around 350 project experience all across the world, have implemented improvement projects. Then of course, international work experience. And then I personally have been involved in architecting and creating 21 tech products. So this is my background basically. Okay. So am I audible and clear, people? Is my voice okay?
Yes.
Okay. So, thank you, Salma. Yeah, AI and its relevance. Let's try to understand this. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Richard. Yeah. So, yeah, let's go on to the next slide. Yeah. So now, if you look at a broad definition of AI, which is typically what you find on Wikipedia and Oxford Dictionary, it is talking about human intelligence, like human intelligence. It is expected to do learning. That means just like how human beings, when we are a baby, we don't know anything, right? When we get into the world and slowly we start recognizing movement, shapes, and then we learn how to crawl, sit, walk, and then suddenly start learning languages, the ability to, count, such kind of things, which is a learning process basically. Then the most important thing, like human beings, the expectation here is about reasoning. It's not just about hearing, learning. We need to process that and then figure out why it is actually happening, which is a very important thing for problem solving. Because human beings, the difference between us and the animal world is our ability to solve problems. Okay, so now this is expected to come into machines basically. Perception is basically an opinion, ability to get an opinion. So that means it's kind of inference. That means based on what you have noticed, you process it, and then you come out with an opinion that becomes your perception, and so ultimately leading to decision making. So these are few keywords that we are seeing, and the science which stitches them together is typically the part of computer science. Okay, and then so the point here is to help achieve either human goals or to aid humans in doing things, but it also has it's like a double-edged sword. It can also do bad things. So that's where the world is humanity is trying to get together. The governments are trying to come together and say, how can we stop the negative side of, AI? For example, recently, as on yesterday, the Indian government has come back and talked about if anybody is creating an image or a video using AI, there should be some markers that is left on the thing. So they're trying to come back and make this as a law, okay? So that people can clearly distinguish between a video that has been taken in a normal situation versus something which has been created out of what is called as deep fake. So such things. So these are some of those things which the humanity is grappling about, because this power can be devastating if it is used in the negative sense. Okay. So this is about artificial intelligence from Wikipedia. This very similar here is here the Oxford Dictionary says simulate intelligent behavior. So now, so the machines need to become smart and stuff like that. Just like, I don't know how many of you, maybe 20, 25 years before, that was the first time when you could play chess with a computer. Okay, there used to be a program or a game, and you could actually play with the chess with the machine, because chess is a two-player game. One is you and the other is the machine. So those days, you could easily beat the computer at its game. Okay, majority of the times humans were winning. But today, but what happened then is it started learning also. Every time it lost, every time a game was played, it tried to figure out how to win. What is making the human behave like this? Why are they moving like this? Today it is extremely difficult to win against a computer. So what did it do? It is now simulating intelligent behavior. Just like how human beings not only play this one move, they might think 4 or 5 moves before. The computers have started doing that. So it's extremely difficult to defeat today. So that's what it is. Simulate intelligent behavior. And then, of course, things like using machine learning. These are algorithms. Okay, and to extrapolate from large collections of data. So one thing you have to really understand is, if you are talking about AI, there is definitely a dependency on data. So we need not just some collections of data, large collections of data. And this is one challenge that's actually happening in the world today, because if you look at small, I'll just give you an example. Translation services, for example. Okay, so let us say the European languages, from English to the European languages, it could be anything, German, Italian, etc. Vice versa is much faster or much better than any Indic languages. Why? Because the data set in all of the others are huge when compared to the Indic data set. So these are some challenges that we are trying to crack. I was part of one large language model called Hanuman AI, where one of the things that we are trying to do that is Sanskrit, because majority of the Indian languages are somehow, some of them have a large affinity, like Hindi, for example, 90-95%, is a spin-off from Sanskrit. There are other languages, even including Kannada, for example, derivative of Sanskrit. So now you should track the Sanskrit problem language. And now majority of the Indic languages, the translations and things like that can actually improve. Okay. So now a lot of things are actually happening, but the point here is all this are done by machines. So there are two parts. One is, the natural intelligence, and the other one is the artificial intelligence. That's what we are saying. Yeah, let's go on to the next one. So now if you look at this, so natural intelligence, as I was saying, in the center you have a brain, because brain is the one that is very important, and the brain cannot do anything unless inputs come from sensories, as we call here. So here are these following sensories, 5 human sensories. Smell, our nose helps us to do that. Then we have taste, our tongue helps us to taste. Touch is because of the skin or a palm or something like that. And vision is through our eyes, and hearing is through our ears. So inputs or sensories, or any signal that comes from all of this gets to the brain, and the brain processes it fast, and hence it helps us to do various different actions. For example, sometimes you could be just seeing and understanding. What are we seeing? Suppose we are looking at colors. What does it actually do? The eyes pick this information, sense it back, sensors, and that's how we can sense what is that particular color. And especially in traffic lights, we know it's all color driven. So the moment we see red, we stop. The moment we see green, we actually start, or actually the action starts. So now some of those particular things are done through our sensories, through this 5. That's how we function. So the science which is helping us to mimic this subsequently, make it as powerful as natural intelligence is what this game called as artificial intelligence is all about. Yeah. So now, pictorially, it is like this. You see a machine on your left, and then there's a brain. You make them work, so the machine starts thinking. So if you are able to mimic the different sensories that are there for human beings, 5 sensories, if the machines can pick that, and if there is a processor which acts as a brain, then that is what is typically called as AI, basically artificial intelligence. So now it is not like natural intelligence. So natural intelligence, human intelligence is there, animal intelligence. So you see, we hear dogs, right? Dogs are very smart. They can learn very fast. They're intelligent animals. Crows as bird, they're extremely, smart. Dolphins, for example, can understand. So bats, for example, so there are so many things, natural intelligence, because in all of them, the common thing is there's a brain which processes inputs which comes in. For example, I gave you the example of bat. Bat can fly fantastically well. How? Not through sight. They emit what is called as radar. They're almost like radars. They ping something, they get back feedback, and hence they can actually maneuver. So now that's a lot of inspiration for a lot of designers, because they're trying to learn from natural intelligence, especially in our design. Each one has got something unique, and this artificial intelligence is to make those particular things actually happen. This has been there for almost 60 years now, or more than that, where human beings have been trying to do that. We will see what it means and how was this evolution and where are we with regarding to what you call the sophistication as on now. Where in the world are we, and why is AI? Because till few years back, even though they were in laboratories across universities and in some large companies, a lot of research was actually happening. It was not really that famous, or the common man had not heard. Maybe they heard, but it was not staring in the face. Today, I don't think in a day, at least 5 to 10 times, you will come across something about AI or not. So what made it so popular, and why? Why is AI suddenly staring in everybody's face? Whether it is common discussions, two friends meeting somewhere for a cup of coffee, invariably they talk about AI. Now, whether it is in personal relationships, when two people are talking, AI creeps in. When it is in a board meeting, AI creeps in. If political leaders talking now, they're talking about AI. So why is the whole world talking about AI now? What shifted? What is this that changed the world? And will the world go back, or human society, can it go back to pre-AI days, or is it here to stay, or is it just another fad which is here and then disappears over time? Should we play this game? If you don't play this game, what happens? If so, how do we play this game? This is what we are trying to understand today. Okay, let's get on to the next slide. Yeah. So now what's actually happening is, they started off just like this. A lot of studies are actually happening here, trying to mimic the five sensories. For example, you have an eye. So people are talking about robotic eye. Of course, it's a very nascent stage. Lot of work needs to actually happen, and this is where what is called as computer vision, as we talk about it today. The basic limitation here is robots cannot replicate what the eye is actually doing today. It is not so smart. Technologies have not evolved, even though cameras have actually evolved. Now, if you are seeing now, some of those cameras now are extremely smart. For example, the camera that you are seeing from me, the laptop that I use, it can zoom in and it can automatically adjust. Depends. Suppose somebody comes and sits next to me, it zooms out so that the other person can be accommodated in the same thing. So these kind of smartness have achieved, but still it's way ahead on trying to mimic what a human eye can actually do. So that's how they try to come in, add some other sensors like a proximity sensor to stop something. because human eye can see something. If there is an obstruction, we stop. We don't go and crash against this because our brain tells that, hey, there is an obstruction in front or there is a hole in front. Don't just walk in, jump. Some of those particular things the eye can say. But today the robot can still not do to that particular accuracy because it's still way far behind. But a lot of work is actually happening. And this work is typically called as computer vision. So a lot of billions of dollars worth of investment has gone in here, and almost all labs worth its weight is actually working on this. So this will help us improve what is called as image processing, and also will help us do a lot of things on videos that have been collected out. And hence, any device that is made out of these cameras will start becoming more smarter and stuff like that. Then, of course, touch. Touch is one thing very critical. For example, now if you are, we need the computer to realize what it is touching. For example, if it is touching a human hand, it should know that it is touching a human hand versus it is touching steel, for example. And today it is still very early days. Some kind of what you see in the image there, maybe, a glove or something like that. So a lot of work is again happening there to actually try and mimic, touch, for example. So this is one thing where a lot of work is actually happening. Then, of course, the nose, the ability to smell. So even as human beings, maybe we can't see, maybe we can't, hear. We are in a very dark room and you smell something, suddenly, even though you have the other sensories which are not really working because of the situation, your nose can still work. So and our brain can still figure out, is there somebody else? Same way with regarding to hearing. Even if it is pitch dark and you get a noise, somebody does this, or you hear somebody walking, your brain can actually imagine even if you can't see. So the beauty here is all need not work in a tandem. So things can actually work in isolation too, right? So the same way with regarding to taste, a lot of places where taste becomes very critical. And there are a lot of industries which depend on taste, especially the food industry. If you look at tea tasting, for example, wine tasting, organoleptic, as they are called, the science which helps in tasting things. There are 3 years courses where people will suddenly realize that through taste they can identify some 320 or 330 different types of taste. For example, a tea taster puts tea decoction on his on his tongue, and he says there is smokiness in this. You try it, you and me cannot find out. But like that, they can find out some 300, 330 something kind of. Same thing with regarding to wine tasters, for example, right? So now, can there be technologies to replicate this? Yeah, that is where a lot of work is again happening here with regarding to taste and some of this stuff. Plus, there are a host of sensors which are actually associated with this. Like for example, gyroscope. Gyroscope is a sensor which helps us, which can help. That is what in your smartphones you have this screen. You can tilt this, right, from portrait to a landscape kind of a thing, and then automatically the screen adjusts. That happens because there is something called as a gyroscope inside. So these kind of sensors are really, really a lot of work is happening, and the beauty here is costs are coming down. See, when I finished my mechanical engineering, maybe 30 years before, there was a big thing that we used to do, what is called as predictive maintenance. Okay? So the basic thing here was to read and identify vibrations. So vibration was considered as a bad part, a signal which says that something is out of balance. Okay? So if something is not balanced, you suddenly have more vibration, as they say. So steel mills or any of those where the shafts are moving at high speeds, etc. Just to find out what is the vibration, it used to cost us few crores. I'm talking about some 25, 30 years before. Only one attribute, which is to identify or measure vibration, basically. Okay. Today, like that, there can so many things that can actually happen, and all of these are available in thousands of rupees, rather than a crore which used to cost. So suddenly you see a lot of people, lot of industries, a lot of machineries have started having a lot of sensors. Today's car, if you buy any modern day car, the amount of sensors that are there, even it could be just starting, right? A car which is 2.5 lakhs, 3 lakh rupees car has so many sensors. But as this thing happens, a luxury car has much more sensors which can actually come in. And to center all of that, you have a very strong, powerful processor which can process this information into some kind of action or something like that. So that's how, if you have seen some of those on the windshield, there are sensors today. So the moment it starts raining and couple of drops on your windshield, and suddenly you see your wiper starts working. You didn't do anything, it can actually do it itself, because of sensors that are there out on the windshield. So like this, a lot of work has actually happened, and all of this put together has given a fillip. And this evolution has actually taken us decades. It's not that it happened yesterday, right? So now the science which is trying, so we're taking a lot of inspiration from natural intelligence, and that's what is inspiring scientists and researchers to actually come back. New materials are coming in, and that's how, if you're looking at the news in the last, a month or so, the biggest problem between the US and China, what is that fight, or why are they pushing and pulling each other on the tariff war? It is for what you must have heard as rare earth materials, right? So there are few rare earths which are which is required for all of this particular kind of permanent magnets and some things that are actually used in these technologies. So 90% of the rare earth minerals are coming out of China today, and China is playing hardball with Trump. So even India is playing that, right? So one of the things future is going to get decided is who has access to this, which again, some has got to do with smart batteries like lithium batteries. Lithium is again a rare earth material which is not easily available. So all of these are going to happen. So that's where the future thing is. We saw earlier that gold, going back about 100 years, gold was the basic thing. Then even way back, even in any of this pre-democracy, when we had emperors, kings, etc. At that time, gold, any civilization you see, gold used to be the valuable, and the more gold people had, so maybe 500, 600,000, 2,000 years itself, gold was identified as this thing. Then maybe in the mid 1900s, oil, they identified oil as the black gold, as they used to say. People who have oil, they survive. So that's how Middle East, even though they have harsh conditions, they don't have abundance of water and stuff like that, still they became very rich because they had access to, or they were sitting on black gold, as they say. Then data became the big thing. So whoever has data, we have seen all these big tech companies. Today, let me tell you, Google will know. So anybody who is using, let us say, our phones, Android phones, the operating system is from Google. So Google, or your wife or your kids, for example, so now, because why? They are picking data from you, so hence they know more about you. So data used to be the big thing. Now going forward, the ability to compute, that's where we are hearing sciences like quantum science, which is coming in, quantum physics, where earlier, if you look at ISRO, for example, ISRO became very, their ability to launch satellites, in spite of companies or countries which are there, so many of them are developed, but we are in the top 3 space research companies where we are able to launch rockets with precision. And one of the reasons why, because we built our own supercomputer. Nobody tells you this. Everybody says, okay, this is that, etc. But when we were blacked out, we did not get technology. They stopped us from getting this technology. So we built our own supercomputer. Now that's one big difference. Today, ISRO has got that ability to launch satellites or any of those space programs is very successful is because we have this. That is, has become our differentiator basically. So computing power and intelligence, as we say, so the future is all about this. People who don't play this, or the society or any country or a company or a person, if they start ignoring AI, it is at their own peril. Okay, because there's nothing. Just like how we had a pre-COVID era and a post-COVID era, there is a pre-AI period, and world has changed. It won't go back to pre-AI area. So please don't ignore. That's the whole idea. But again, how scary is it? How difficult it is? What is the relevance? Does it make sense? Okay, can we do few things? Okay, does it give us that advantage? Can it make my business much more strong? So how do we do that? That is what we are trying to, figure out. Okay. Yeah, let's go on to the next slide. Yeah, if you look at those various layers, broadly, it is all called a science, as we realized, computer science, a thing called as artificial intelligence, which was AI. Now, subsequently, what actually happened was, yeah, if you go back, this goes back to 1940s, 50s, 60s, where AI was being discussed. There were so many things that was actually happening, but more in an academic kind of a situation. Industrial laboratories that were there in universities, they were doing some job and stuff like that. But they brought in some impetus, or AI become a little more usable because of machine learning, ML as it is called. It is a subset of the artificial intelligence basically, and ML brought in a lot of speed to this, where it started making sense. There were some kind of use cases which were there, saying that can machines learn? Hence, the mathematics part of it kicked in. Algorithms started coming in, which were more ML oriented, which helped various things to do. Then there was something called as deep learning, which is a subset further down of artificial intelligence, where again there were some more algorithms which came into effect, which helped organizations, or rather, to do much more complex things than what machine learning was able to do. Deep learning came back. It helped the machine to become more like a human being. So the difference between what was there before and after was the deep learning algorithms. So again, there are many things here: supervised algorithms, unsupervised algorithms, semi-supervised algorithms, and some of those particular things. But deep learning is a particular science which is part of this AI. Okay. Then what actually happened in the last 3-4 years was a dramatic change, or what made it a household name, where there is no discussion today without AI, is because of this generative AI, as you say, which is popularly called as Gen AI. Now, what did that do? That was the beauty, wherein it could connect to common man. See, deep learning, machine learning, artificial intelligence, broadly, they were all highly skilled, which was never involving a common man. You needed data scientists, you needed statisticians, you needed computer science professionals, your ability to write code, you needed processing this thing to actually do this, a lot of hardware related. So these were the few guys who were involved basically in this activity till generative AI, where common man was able to actually touch and use AI. He needed, he didn't need such kind of skills wherein you need a PhD or a master's or something like that. A common man could actually do it, and that changed the world forever. So if you see, there are two things. Of course, generative, the moment you talk about generative AI, you need to talk about what is called as foundational models. That is the basis on which generative AI works. And if you look at it, there are two parts. One is what is called as a large language model, LLM as it is called. The typical examples are chatbot, some of this, translation services that are actually there. And, some of those particular things actually happens through an LLM, where it can generate something. Okay. Audio videos also. Today you are able to see there are so many applications that are there. You are not good at singing, but you want to actually sing in your own voice. You can actually do that. You sing to the app and then it can convert it into a professional singer's voice, in your voice though, a song, okay? So now audio could actually work. A lot of things actually have happened there. Videos, that's how you can even generate images today. That's how the chat GPT is the one. So today, majority of the people are not able to distinguish between AI and chat GPT. You talk about chat GPT, AI, they talk about chat GPT there, right? Like that, there are many players basically. So video you could actually create. So the science or the methodology or what you do with this is called as deep fakes. So it can create an audio, scary things. It is so real. It is extremely difficult to figure out whether it has been and this whole uh, content has been created through an artificial intelligence. Otherwise, we needed a camera, right? If you want to take an image, you needed either somebody to paint something, or you needed to sketch something, or you take a camera and take a image. That's how an image used to come out, a photograph. But now, Gen AI can actually generate. So now, same way, deepfakes video, you'll be shocked to know, oh my God, how is this possible, right? So that is what world was taken by storm by this generative AI, and it's very difficult to go back, right? So this is what are the various different layers, and it has taken time. So let's see how did we evolve. Yeah, let's get on to the next. Okay, so now the line that you are seeing now, uh, go back. Yeah. So now if you look at it, this is what AI adoption has been, So goes back to 1960s. There was a trajectory that was expected by 2030. This is how adoption of AI will actually happen. It's a normal curve. There's nothing spectacular in this. Yeah. Then you had machine learning when that started becoming popular. So you see after 2000, suddenly there was a bump because a lot of research actually happened and there were certain things that happened and the trajectory of AI and its importance by 2030 went up because of EML, a lot of work out of ML. Then you have deep learning. Suddenly you see it bumped up again around 2015, etc. Deep learning did actually happen, and then hence because of this, you see it bumped up. But now look at Gen AI, it suddenly came up and then boom, it is expected to take 2030 by storm. And already people are talking about, I don't know if somebody has seen 5 lakh jobs that will be Amazon jobs, okay, will be replaced by AI. 5 lakh employment, because by 2030, Amazon is expecting their business to almost, go up by 40-50%. And all those jobs, plus the current jobs, 5 lakh jobs will go away. And so humans have lost their jobs to machines. So what do we do? Oh my God, the world is going topsy-turvy. How will humanity work? How will people get jobs? What will be the nature of governance going forward? Will people be at home and will the economy be run by robots and we all get the benefits of that, or do we have a role to play? These are some of those questions to the world. So uh, there is a lot of fear, and at the same time there are people who are seeing this as an opportunity and saying, no, why should we do sweaty jobs? Why should we do jobs which are below our capability of the human brain? Let us do what is ours, and hence AI will generate more jobs. That's what they are talking about. But the quality of jobs will actually vary when compared to the kind of jobs that we actually now. But anyway, whether for the good or the bad, AI is shaking up the world, and now the relevance of that. So the whole idea is what happens to us? How do we work? And 2030 is not far away. So now, are our existing businesses, what do we need to do? How are we going to adapt? Does it make sense? How much does it cost? What is the process that is involved? And some of those particular things is what we will try to figure out. Okay, yeah, let's get on. Now, if you try to look at it from a process perspective, this is how the whole thing is. So you have sensors which actually is nothing but generates inputs basically. These inputs, which are nothing but data, okay, data are finally processed, okay, and this processed data is converted as output into information, and this information means nothing unless it is a decision has to be taken based on the information, which leads to action, and all of this is going to happen in real time. So now if time as a dimension was not there, this used to actually happen. For example, now let's look at it. For example, if you look at organizations, first thing that any manager or a owner or a CEO of an organization wants to come back and get an input very quickly about what happened yesterday, a snapshot of how was business as on yesterday evening, and hence very quickly what we need to do today. That's the typical job of any manager who actually comes in. So they used to do this. So next day morning we come back, maybe the business was completed by such and such a day. So we want to come back and say, what was the revenue that we did yesterday? Was there anything that we could not do yesterday, which we have to do today? Basically to help us prioritize. But today the world has come in and everything needs to actually happen in real time. Okay, why? Who is asking this? Why real time? Who are these people who are asking? Why is suddenly the world talking about real time? Why can't it be like what it was before? I will do have a morning meeting where yesterday's report actually comes to me in the morning. So what is the urgency that it should reach to me? Who is driving this change? Now the driver of this change is that our next generation, Generation Z, for example, intolerant. They can't wait. They are putting pressure on businesses. They're not okay to wait for things to actually happen. So now, sadly, these are the customers of tomorrow. If businesses ignore this, because majority of the revenues will actually happen in the future, because these are our customers. So the urgency or the loss of patience is being driven down by the next generation, and all businesses need to actually happen. And all of you have, I think, either a brother, a sister, or your own children maybe, or you're an uncle or an aunt for somebody. Now in all of this, you are able to see that generation, very difficult to understand what drives them, but they are impatient. So now markets are changing. There is no time. If not now, somebody else will come back and take that spot. So now in this, and at the same time, technology is available to make some of these things in real time. For example, let me give you what is changing. Okay. Now let's say there's an accident on the road between two vehicles. And then now, of course, it's a dispute now. So everybody, this party claims that it was not my mistake. The other person says it's not my mistake. But then ultimately somebody has to decide what is wrong. There's an insurance payment, blah, 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 etc. That's how things gets resolved, right? Now the closest thing, if the police or the cops arrive on screen, the first thing that they will do is they'll look around and see whether there are any cameras that are actually available, right? That's a normal thing that actually happens today. So they go back, try to get that footage. And now when you get that footage, somebody has to watch it. So they have to run. So approximately, you know the date and the approximate time of the problem. So maybe 1 hour here and there you actually watch. So human beings have to watch that footage. Then you'll come at, oh, that vehicle was coming from this side and this vehicle came on the wrong side. So this person is wrong, not this person. To arrive at that particular information, you had to do a lot of things. This used to take days, basically, right? Today, you know what, guys? The same thing can be actually done at the camera level itself. So today the problem is somebody still manually have to look at it. Have to look at the footage. Then there is somebody who has to take a decision. Based on the decision, somebody will give a challan or come back to the court, and the court will say you'll have to pay this person so much or whatever actually happens. So there used to be a lot of lag between the censor or the activity that happened versus the action. Today there is nothing. So more and more things are becoming faster. For example, now today, look at when we are driving on the highway, you of course you'll have to pay the fees for using the highway, right, to access the highway, right? So now just imagine earlier, yeah, we had so much excitement that we got world-class roads maybe 10 years, 15 years before, and there were toll booths where we had to stop and pay the biggest problem here was the transaction time that used to take for us to stop and then take out the money. That fellow counts it, maybe he has to give you change, then a receipt gets generated, and then the boom opens and then you actually go. So the time for that transaction used to be more than a minute or something like that. And because of the volume of traffic, weekends were the worst, basically. So then they realized that, oh, this won't work. A little bit of automation needs to actually happen. So they brought in what is called as this fast tags, which works on the RFID technology or the radio frequency identification device. So your windshield has got a sticker which has an antenna inside. So that actually comes back. There are sensors or receivers which are there on the boom, which reads this. Parallelly, there is a camera which reads your number plate. This information goes to the billing, and then automatically this one machine, which is your car, is intelligent now because it has an antenna on your screen, an RFID antenna, and here there is a receiver. They talk to each other, and hence they recognize now the car. Okay, and there is also the 3 levels of communication. One is a video, which is taking this information through your vehicle registration number. It knows certain details. The other one is through this sensor, it can actually do. Plus there is also, if you look at your screen, there is also a QR code that also can be read. So there are 3 ways of communicating this. And then basically it is acknowledged. Then parallelly your wallet is there's a transaction with your wallet, and all of these particular things are happening in few seconds, basically. So marked improvement versus this. But now still the problem here is your majority of the highways are at 80 kilometers per hour speed. Now there are some which are 100 kilometers per hour speed, especially like the Bangalore Mysore thing. There are certain things which are at 120 kilometers per hour. So now when you're coming at that speed, you have to reduce your speed to almost less than 10 kilometers per hour, or sometimes you have to stop for a few seconds for that handshake to actually happen, and then the boom actually happens, and then you go. This deacceleration from, let us say, 80 kilometers per hour to 0, and then you accelerate again, is like a choking of the throat. So now everything slows down, hence there is a there again traffic backs up because of this, and especially during weekends this is much more worse. So now what's the next thing? Can we do something else, for example? That's where, for example, in the US, especially in the this thing of Texas, the state of Texas, all of them are at 80 miles per hour, speed at which you can drive there. And when you pass, you don't even know. So all this toll booths that are there, there's nothing to slow you down. You whiz past at 80 miles per hour, but there are high-speed cameras which reads your number plate and debits to your account, basically. So now suddenly you see government is collecting their tolls, There is no slowing down. So what actually happened? The automation, the technology, the ability to take this, capture at those high speeds. Okay, now there are some radar technologies which are coming. There are so many technologies that are evolving which are making these particular things actually happen, basically. So now the point here is this is how the technology is moving, the ability to process. Now quantum computing we did talk about. Now what's actually happening there? Ability to compute today, whatever is your fastest compressor that is commercially available, 1,000 times faster. You can actually do this. That is what, it's almost like a supercomputer. Now earlier it used to be available only for these government agencies like ISRO, defense people to actually do certain things. Only those kind of technologies, they used to do a lot of research. Now suddenly all those will be available to a common man. Already our smartphones have made a difference in our lives today. To reach that information, to get to you, has already reached that stage, almost instant, right? And the world is not able to do that. If there is an accident, even before the police can recognize, there are already people who are out with cameras, and they have taken a video and they've already put it on social media. Suddenly there are certain things that are available. The speed with which information, we still don't know. Governments are not able to match this speed. They don't know how to use this. They don't know how to absorb this information. We still have those earlier methodologies of doing things. Now just imagine whatever your smartphone can do, 1,000 times more faster your quantum computer can actually do. So with this processing speed, just imagine how whack the whole world will actually be. Now you have this computing power, but what do you do? How do you crunch this data? How do you extract this into information, ultimately take action? Now this is where the world is leading to. Whether we like or not, those technologies are evolving. 2026 will be a big impact. And the first industry which is going to adopt or going to really do, they're doing a lot of noise now, are the cybersecurity people. Because today, let us say your banking app, right? On your smartphone, you're using this and it is asking for a PIN, right? Today, generally there are 4 digits, in some cases there are 6 digits. You actually press that. And the expectation here is, or the technology that is available today is, nothing can capture this in real time. You putting 4 codes. So you're safe today. But with quantum computing, you can actually capture this because your processing is 1,000 times faster. So there are no passwords which are safe. Can anything be hacked? Of course, you have the processor now to hack that. So now this industry has woken up and said, what do we do? How do we ensure that it is not misused? Because now this technology of, I would rather call it as a supercomputer, is actually available to you today on a commercial basis. When this actually happens, how are you going to protect yourself? How are banks going to protect themselves? Any data, anything. Your emails, it's your personal data, right? Now somebody can hack that just because they have higher processor. So these are the challenges that are happening, and a lot of things are actually happening, and this is the world that we are in. It's a crazy world right now, right? And that's where, out of all of this, how do we make sense? What do we do? That's what is the challenge. Yeah, let's get on. Now, basically what actually happens here is, here on the left hand side on that image, the top one is a cloud, the below one is edge. You must have heard about what is called as edge computing. So one of the examples that I would talk about edge computing is, you don't have to process that, let us say, in servers. Server means there is still a lag. There is a data or a signal or a sensor which has picked this. This data has to go to another machine for processing. Majority of the times it is in the cloud. And then the information has to come back for action here. So there is a lag. Today that is not going to help in real time. So now the question is, can this processing happen at the stage where the data is actually being captured? Like for example, if you're talking about a smart camera or a camera typically is a dumb device. What does it do? It has a lens. It actually captures as a photograph or as an image, or it captures a video, which is the output. It does not do anything. Either it stores themselves if there is storage, otherwise it pushes this data somewhere else. This is dumb. It does not know. If suppose a criminal is walking in front of the camera, it can't identify. It is not smart enough to identify that this fellow is a criminal who has gone in front. Now, so it is dumb. Now, edge computing is, can you make the camera smart? Can it access, do a face recognition of everybody who's walking and then very quickly flag somebody who is a terrorist or a murderer or whoever it is? Now, the ability of the device to do such kind of complicated processing is typically, typical layman's term called as edge computing. That's how your smart, phone is a very powerful edge computing device. It can do so many things. That's how your image processing. Today, any modern smartphone has a face recognition. What does it do? It has a camera. It is looking at you, sees you, and then compares your image with what has been actually registered, compares both of them, and then suddenly opens up if it is the same person. Suppose you take your own highly defined photograph. Can you do the same thing? Put the photograph in front. Can it do the same thing? No, it is still smart enough. Right? So edge computing means more and more devices are becoming smart. The same way, if people are using smart watches, for example, an Apple smartwatch can detect a heart attack. Typically, you need to go to a hospital where they have this ECG, blah, 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 etc. So many things to detect a heart attack. Now, just imagine a watch can do the same thing. Why? Because it's an edge device. Now, earlier, if somebody is let us say, a diabetic patient, you need to actually prick your finger to figure out, to measure what is your glucose level. And then you used to know, it used to tell. Okay, and then you know the limits, and that's how you know what is your sugar levels. And you can't keep pricking it every 1 hour, right? Invariably, you tend to do it maybe 2 or 3 days once and stuff like that. Now there is something called as a continuous glucose monitor, CGM as they say. You just have to put it up here. A small needle gets in. It is with you. It is waterproof. You can be life as usual. You can take bath. You can do whatever. You can do swimming. And it measures in real time. It can actually come back and give you an alert. Hey, your sugar levels have gone up. Or your most dangerous is when your sugar levels are going down sharply. Now the fluctuation is the pain which you need to manage. Today in real time, you sleep. All of this real time, I mean, is almost one, this thing per minute. There are some which is picking data every 5 minutes. So it's almost real. So you can see a trend if you want. What is going back? I ate this. What is the impact of that? In fact, I was involved in a healthcare industry which was doing this. I can tell you what are the impacts of food. For example, now majority of the times we come back and say, oh my God, for a diabetic, they say, don't eat sweets, right? That's the one. Avoid sugar, avoid sweets. Now you know which are the sweets a diabetic can eat without a spike in sugar. Why? Because real time it is telling you. Mysore pak. The way the sugar levels goes up is almost nothing. It's like eating any other thing, right? So now the question is, you yourself can know how your body is, because every body is not the same. This gives in real time. There are applications, there are smart applications now which will tell you. That's how you must have seen some of these companies like Sugar Fit or something. All of those particular companies have come in. What are they doing? They're using a lot of AI. And the computing capability is actually available because of edge computing. This is another big thing that's actually happening, right? That's how a lot of variables. I have what is called as, for example, this is smart glasses, for example. Okay. See, if you can see here, there's a camera. Okay. There are, what do you call? You can, there are small near ear, this thing that are available here, where I can listen to music. I can take a call without the person next to me knowing. Can hear, there are small microphones that are actually available here. There is an AI built. Whatever I am seeing, it has meta AI. I ask it a question, it tells me in my ear what I'm seeing. This is smart. So where is this processing actually happening? This is smart because it is doing edge computing, right? So we are trying to build applications based on this now, because this is the way forward it is. Innovation needs to actually happen here, right? So now again here, machine learning, deep learning, etc. There are all algorithms. I've just given a few of them. There are many of them. Okay, and it's very difficult to become a specialist in all of them. Okay, so there are few things. Again, classification algorithm, they simply classify. Okay, what is called as now human brain actually always looks at patterns, right? If you look at it today, gender, we come back and say male and female gender. So we classify. Then we classify based on height. We classify based on weight. We classify based on education. So now this is our ability to help classify few things. There are those algorithms which actually helps in classification. Then there are some regression. Regression is what? Basically helps us in looking at trends, blah, 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 etc. So all of this forecasting actually helps out of regression algorithms. Okay, there are a few of them that are there. Then there are clustering algorithms. Now, for example, let me give you this one example. Okay, so two products, whether they are correlated, if you want to look at this, is there an affinity between two products? For example, toothpaste, toothbrush, they have an affinity, right? Then you have shampoo, and then maybe a face wash, they have a strong affinity, right? Clothing may, you have pant and shirt, which has an affinity. So this, you don't need a lot of analytics to actually figure that out. These are by human intelligence, very easy to figure out based on our way we are experienced or whatever it is. It's very nice to say. But now where clustering algorithms comes in is, they found out a pattern that first time, fathers, typically between the age of 23 to 30, 32, something like this, when they become fathers for the first time, when they go for shopping, for buying what is called as napkin, kids napkin, they buy beer. Now look at the correlation. It is impossible, way beyond our means, because it is across categories. We are not able to figure out. Now it is very important to put them together. Some of them are observations over years. If you go into any store, especially the grocery store, when you come towards billing, what do you see near the billing kiosks? You actually see chocolates being sold. Do you think it is random? Why only chocolates? Why not biscuits? Why not something else? Why? Because through observation, this was not through any of this, through years of looking at it, they realized that this is generally a guilt buy. You, on impulse you take, but later guilt comes in, so you put it back. So the probability that you will bring it to the billing and get through billing is very rare, unless you have children at home. Whereas if it is near this, on impulse you take this, boom, they bill it, so that you don't change your mind. So all of these have evolved out of intelligence that have come either through observations, which takes a lot of years to do, but now these kind of algorithms are really coming out fast. Now, a classic example I talked about was face recognition. There are solutions today which looks at your face and they are able to say, will you become sick very soon? Even before you realize that you will get a fever, there are applications which can tell you. They are looking at eyes, they are looking at puffy eyes. There are so many things, indicators which actually looks, and they come back and forecast. Now for all of this, there are algorithms in the back end basically. That is what is making it powerful, because you have the ability to crunch these numbers. Edge computing is giving you this. There are algorithms that are actually possible. Now sensors are becoming very this thing. You tell me, today everybody is a cameraman, right? Just imagine some 20 years before, you need to have a camera, a device. Everybody never used to buy that. That's how, when I was small, I used to get asked when you go to functions, because there was one ustad guy. He had a camera. He used to take photographs. There used to be a flash. So we used to, open our mouth and look at what this guy is. He's almost like Superman to us, because everybody did not have this camera. You talk to that guy, he'll say aperture, that this light is on your face, on the other side, blah blah blah, so many things. He used to make it look like it's rocket science. Today you look at it, you don't need a separate device called as a camera, because your smartphone has got. Which smartphone today, even the cheapest will have a camera. Even a 3-year-old kid can take a very good photograph. Or there are post-processing software which can actually further increase this, right? So the point that I'm trying to say here, guys, is this part of the science called as artificial intelligence is here to stay. And how are we going to get the benefits of that? Yeah, let's get on to that. Okay, so now information basically could be by way of signals, could be by way of alerts, infographic, graphs, scorecards, etc. Why I talk about signals here is, guys, you all have used, Google Maps, right? So it has become a way of life, right? Because extremely difficult, especially in chaotic places like India. Suddenly, if you go by, home numbers in a street, somewhere you get lost. Something started, you reached some 221, and the next one is 560 or something. Suddenly, you don't have things for whatever reasons. Okay, so now suddenly you see it was extremely difficult. Majority of the times it was visuals. You have to have a memory. Oh, alli hodre alli moolenalli. You have a nursing home, you take a right turn there, and then you have one tree there, you'll have to take a left. It was all memory based. If you want to go to the same place second time, third time, etc. Complicated things. Today we don't have to worry. You don't need anybody to tell. All you need is either they share the location or they give you an address, and then you have a method, and then now you're controlling, or rather it's leading you exactly to that place. Majority of the time there are some issues which are there, of course, which are very minuscule. The nonsense that is coming out of this is very less when compared to the sense out of this, right? So that's how we adopt it. We know that it is important. We know that it can safely tell us, take from A to B, even to estimate time. Okay, it will also tell us whether in the future there are any traffic congestions, blah blah blah, etc. It estimates time decently for you to reach that particular place. Now, in doing this, you have your phone which has a sensor which is talking to your satellite, right? You know how many times it communicates between the device and the satellite? 8 times a second. 8 times. If you do this 8 times, it is talking to each other. Look at the volume of data. That is how, even if you are going at 100 kilometers per hour, it can still tell you in the next 30 meters, you'll have to take a left turn. Even at that speed of travel, your ability to crunch. Why? Because this communication with the satellite is happening 8 times every second. That's the signal. That's the strength of it talking. Right? Just imagine if a satellite which is so many kilometers above, and this device is available with you and me on a commercial basis. Just imagine how sophisticated it might be with ISRO, how sophisticated it might be with the Air Force. because all these jets are actually moving at what speed? Mach. They are all measured in terms of Mach. Mach is the speed of light, of sound. 3 Mach, 5 Mach, hypersonic. Now, recently, couple of days before, we checked BrahMos 2. It was a hypersonic missile, around 7 times, 7 Mach, 7 times the speed of sound. Right? So now that's what it is. So the ability to process, sensors are actually available. This is the state that we are in, where we have reached here, and hence AI cannot be ignored. Yeah, let's get on to the next. Okay, decision, of course, there are 7 steps of effective decision making. You can see this. Of course, we have been following this. We have been doing this, maybe manually, but now this is the structure for a typical decision. Identify what is the decision, gather information, identify alternatives. Like typically, this is what used to be what is called as also called as Six Sigma, right? Some of those particular principles are all of this. For good decision making, you'll have to follow this structure basically. Now this is being done in real time. The same logic goes through and then it is coming up, right? For example, the classic thing here is, suppose you miss a turn. Again, when you're using this, you heard your Google Maps turn around and say, idiot, I told you to take a left turn. You did not. It does not say that. What does it do? Immediately recalculates and gets you an alternate solution basically. That is the beauty of it, and it's almost in real time. It comes back and says, no problem, you have to go another 500 meters and you take a left turn again, right? And because of this decision, what is the impact on time? It can even come back and tell you it is going to take so much time, 10 more minutes now than your earlier thing because of this mistake. So things are extremely this thing, and this processing actually helps us. Yeah. So of course, all this, if it is not actionable, means nothing. The value of information, of course, is got. For example, during this time, which is raining now, if somebody comes back and predicts it is going to rain today, there is no surprise. In a monsoon season, what do you expect? So there is no big value for that information, because even without complicated things, just because of our regular thinking, we are able to come back and say, yeah, during monsoon, the probability of rain is very high. But just imagine if somebody can give you this information during peak summer where you did not expect at all that it is going to rain. Look at the value of that information. So information, right information at the right time is very important. To do what? To result in action. Right? It should help us take action, whatever it could be, to save the situation. One is, like for example, today morning we are doing some analysis. Oh, yesterday all they had to do was they were supposed to do this. It would not have actually happened. What is the point of discussion there? It is only a post-mortem of what actually happened. You can't reverse the clock and go back and do something. You can only do a post impact analysis. Whereas if some information is given to you which helps you take action now and save the day, the value of that actually tremendously improves, and hence everybody is there. All we need is to tell us that at the right time, and then suddenly you see it becomes more credible. Today, if you look at India, the number of instances of terrorist activities have come down. Why? We are able to get credible information, and some action is being put in before itself. Suddenly you see what was actually happening with us. So many bombs, so many terrorist activities. Now they are becoming proactive. You have information leading to action. And hence there is a result out of that. Yeah. Yeah, some of those applications are here. Google Maps, which I did mention. Then you have Uber, Ola, Lyft. All of these guys, the whole model is based on AI. right? Autopilot in flights, driverless cars. Even now, Gmail is much, much more smarter than what it was 5 years before. Email type assist, it is trying to figure out what is it that you might type and helps you form sentences. You just start typing, it forms the sentence for you so that you can actually start writing faster, right? Like this, adaptive learning, chatbots, credit decisions, Facebook tagging. Today, you have seen that face, you remember, but you don't remember the name. In certain cases, you remember the name, but you don't remember the face. This is a classic problem. And some of them can put you into trouble. Napka idya yaro heli, they'll tell you on your face, you have seen this guy, but you are not remembering his name. Right? Facebook tagging does that. All it needs is one time somebody tags you, and then every subsequent time, whenever there is an image of you in Facebook, in a photograph, suddenly your name is tagged to that. It's a very powerful way of tagging things. Okay? Yeah, some of these particular things are there. Now, basically, guys, for example, now, how is this relevant or for, let us say, MSME specifically, new generation, what are the problems? The typical problem for an MSME here is access to talent. Getting smart people to join you is extremely difficult. Everything is centered around the owner or one or two key people there. Otherwise, you are not able. You might have opportunities galore, but you are scared now to take the next step to get that opportunity because you are scared. Who will do this? How do I scale this business? Even if you get somebody that just leaves. And to such an extent that parents, the father, the owner is not able to get their next generation to your own business. Kids are refusing. Succession plans are becoming difficult. In such a situation, do you miss the boat? Do you miss the opportunity? And this is very specifically happening to India, guys. What's actually happening? We have become the fourth largest economy. We are around $4.2 trillion economy now, right? We are going to become the third largest economy. Why? Because Germany is going down. They are negative. They had a recession last year. It looks like they'll have a recession this year. So without a sweat, most probably by 2026 March, maybe our numbers are much better. We might become the third largest economy, and very soon we'll be knocking on 5 trillion economy. Now, every 1 trillion expansion in the market, tremendous amount of opportunity, lakhs of crores of opportunity. Now the market is expanding. So what the hell? How do we do this? As MSME, do we miss the bus? Of course, the big guys are there, the Tatas, the Mahindras, okay? Then you have the Reliance, you have the Adanis, all these big guys are there. They will come back. They have money. They can attract talent. They can do things and then they take majority. But what about the SMEs? Are we left out? Should we ignore this? Or, what to do? They are all getting the benefit. Is that what? We sit back? Or is there something AI is becoming a blessing? If you ask me, the biggest impact is or the opportunity from AI is for MSMEs. Why? AI can replace a talent which you can't attract. It is very difficult. And hence majority of the MSMEs are overtly dependent on consultants. You have consultants from outside, sometimes to such an extent that the knowledge lies outside the company. And these consultants don't pass on knowledge, right? So this is the scary part. Now just imagine, guys, you can have an AI application which can take away this problem. For example, let me give you this, okay? Now, 26,000 crores is the allocation for defense sector under Atmanirbhar, where the government is going to buy The defense department is going to buy 26,000 crores worth of goods from India. Naturally, all the big guys came in, they started their own defense departments and stuff like that. But one of the conditions that has been put in is 30% of that value. Suppose somebody has got a 2,000 crores contract, somebody has got a 10,000 crore contract, somebody has got, let us say, 750 crores of contract, large companies, they have to source services or goods to 30% out of MSMEs and startups. Now you know these people are struggling to get vendors. Either you don't have scale or you are not organized to use this opportunity. One of those particular things is just basic things like reading a drawing. You have a drawing, just to read the drawing and find out what the hell does this mean itself is a constraint. There are no people available. Say I've been a mechanical engineer. I started off my career in a Swiss company where reading drawings was the bread and butter. I still consider myself on a scale of 1 to 5 as 3. For such kind of jobs, you need, thank you, you need, a mechanical engineer with skills of level 4 and level 5. Now just imagine, we are working, one of our MSME customer whom we are helping under this program is push in your drawing. Out comes a easy English report. What are the specification, what machine to use, what kind of tools to actually use, what all are important that has to be, measured during this, in a QA testing, some of those particular things, which otherwise you had to actually use a consultant for doing this. Now the applications are n number. We are helping one more company which is doing this fire hydrants. Now they want to use AI to do certain things faster. Now the point here is, this is a classic help for MSME with no dependency on people. You need to actually have an idea. You have the ideas, guys. Indians are brilliant in ideation process. We have shown to the world. But we also have constraints of converting that idea into reality. If we can work on that, world is our marketplace. And especially India itself. Otherwise, we simply sit and then be cynical and say, oh my God, dod company power ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ನಾವೇನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. We can't, we just have to sit and see the opportunity go past. So that is where the organization Nextech is actually, has been found. I'll come to that very quickly. Let us go on to the next one. Yeah, look at the market size, guys. 3.5 trillion by 2033. 3.5 trillion world over. And India can actually play this game. Not only Indian market, the world market. You know why? Because there are no talent in other parts of the world, except maybe China. China and India, it's a God blessing. We have talent. All we have to do is organize ourselves, take that next step of faith, as they say, and then jump in, because the market is very big. You need to actually take only a small part of this to actually get there. So even the United Nations also is talking about much more bigger. They say 4.8 trillion. That's their estimation. Just imagine, guys. See, 2023, it was 189 billion, which will grow to 4.8 trillion. Look at the growth, 25-fold growth. The wave itself is good enough. All you have to be is at the right place at the right time with the right idea, and boom, right? This is a godsend for MSME, if she asks me. Yes, please, let's get on. Yeah, of course, the skills required, some mathematics skills, then you need pure science, some skills, computer science skills, like mathematics, statistics, probability, ability to predictions, that's where we were talking about the ability to look at some of those things. And all of this is what makes it. Now, all this put together, you can convert this AI opportunity basically. And that is what Nextech can help. Yeah. Yeah. Even the skill demand, definitely a lot of jobs will go away, guys. We have seen already people about 10 years back, every engineering company, anybody who goes to an engineering company gets hired. Where do they go? They go to BPOs, business process outsourcing, technical support. They do marketing. They do so many things sitting there. Okay. Now, all of those are gone today. Who has replaced those jobs? Did we lose it to other countries? No. We lost it to machines. Majority of the jobs are being done by chatbots today. Right? So new jobs are coming up today. Something called as a prompt engineer. There was nothing called as a prompt engineer a couple of years before. Today, there is a huge requirement for prompt engineers going forward. Or RAG engineers. All of these were not there. They're all AI related. Right? Yeah, let's get on.